good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And thank you for joining us at Retail Revival this year. My name is Payal Hindocha, and at eMasters in SAP, I have the privilege of working with our clients and our partners to bring our solutions to market. Joining us now is Lounge Underwear, who's listed as one of the UK's fastest growing fashion brands, and they've combined an old school work ethic with modern marketing techniques to help build and facilitate this fast growing e-commerce brand. In this session, joining us is Arron, the Chief Customer Officer, and Kiran Bains, the Chief Marketing Officer from Lounge Underwear. And we'll cover how they've grown and scaled their business by creating a sense of belonging for their customers and using personalization for the customer first across multiple digital channels. Thank you both for joining us.
Hi.
No worries.
Excited to be here.
Thanks for your time today. So, Arron, coming to you first. A lot of Lounge Underwear's success can be attributed to your brand's total customer obsession, and it's also resulted in the creation of your own tight-knit community, which is the female family. How did this community evolve, and how do you keep it alive, active, and engaged?
Yeah, good question. I think the best place to start would be to kind of where Lounge was born, where we came from. So Lounge was born around 5 years ago in 2015. And it was at the time of social media, which just kind of coming to the fore in a lot of marketing. And we were kind of almost, I'd say, in the right place at the right time, and starting to leverage a lot of the kind of social media platforms, Instagram being a massive one for us. And whilst we were able to do that, I guess we were one of the fewer brands around then that were able to really kind of create an authentic community. So as you know now, there's a lot of brands coming through into Instagram, social media and stuff. And we were able to just kind of really talk to our customers in an authentic way. We listened to our customers and we talk to them in a normal way. Like one of the things that are really important in terms of building a community and a tight-knit community is treating your customers and listening to your customers as they would want to be. So we were able to do that really, really well. Like, it's not just a one size fits all journey, and it never will be. It needs to be based on where the customers are, what their kind of interests are, and us kind of being proactive and reactive to that. So that was kind of one of the key things, definitely. And engaging our customers across all our channels as well. It's really big.
And Kiran, from a marketing perspective, how did this community evolve for you? And from a marketing perspective, how do you keep this active and alive and engaged?
Like Arron mentioned, we're Instagram born brand. That community was very much built from the day we kind of set ourselves on the Instagram platform. And as he rightly mentioned, building that community was super important to us. And to answer your question, moving forward and how we kind of maintain that community and how we use it from a marketing perspective is all the kind of elements that Arron said, without sounding like a broken record, listening to our customers. But it's not just listening, it's actually being proactive and making actions off the back of what they say and what they're telling us. And it's not just that we're a brand and we want you to buy our product. Of course, that is the goal for us to be successful and us to grow. We need that. But on the flip side of it, we're not just selling product. We have built this community because we listen to what they say. We talk to them about important conversations. Being in a female and the kind of the bridge that we've got between comfort and sexy underwear is something that every woman can relate to. You don't want to compromise on either or, and we're here as that best friend to tell you that you don't need to compromise, as well as all the other things that we talk about, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later, but bigger campaigns that we do, talking about conversations that aren't really general conversation, that have a little bit of a stigma around them. We're here, like we said, to be that female best friend, and that's really where we've built our community.
And you both mentioned a really important point where your brand is born in the Instagram age. And Kiran, just from a marketing perspective, there's many brands who are looking to build the same kind of community that you guys already have. What kind of advice would you give to other marketers who are looking to create something similar for their brands?
I think it's understanding what your values are as a brand and how you want to relay those back to your customers. Like I said, in the question before, is kind of balancing that this is what we're selling, but this is also what we are giving you. You can't ask someone to be a part of your community if all you're doing is asking them to buy your product. There needs to be something more that you're giving back to them, whether it's enlightening them on a topic or educating them on something, showing that you're a part of something bigger, or you're wanting to be a part of something bigger and you want them to come on that journey with you. And it's sharing and being transparent and making sure that there isn't this kind of barrier between what you're portraying and what you're actually doing. It's showing that you live and breathe those core brand values, and so that they can see that. And I think that's definitely a route going down towards getting a real community that is oh god, where's the word gone from me? Loyal. Completely went out of my head there. But yeah, building a really loyal community, because if you are transparent, that is where people are going to listen. They're going to want to listen again. They're going to want to know what the next thing is that you have to say. And then they're going to buy into your product, and then they're going to become a loyal customer, not just kind of a community member. And that's really how you build on that and really leverage it.
Just to add to Kiran as well, like one thing that as a brand that we're not afraid to do is have difficult conversations and have those kind of open conversations on our platforms. And when you talk about building a community and keeping it engaged and kind of that evolving in the future, one thing that we made a conscious effort to do in how we, not just marketing, but it's our brand and what we try to portray, is having that kind of emotional connection with the customer and speaking up on topics that are kind of in real world topics. You know, when Black Lives Matter happens, when, like, you know, the conversation on diversity, these are things that, as Kiran rightly said, they're real world issues and it's affecting everyone, and we will have those conversations openly on our platform to not keep customers engaged, because it's the right thing to do. And I think a lot of our community buys into that as well, which is another big powerful thing.
Topics that they care about, and it's just showing that you care about those things too. Is putting yourself in your customer's shoes. What are their day-to-day conversations? What are they getting involved in? And if that is true to your brand and your brand values, then show them that you care too, and that you're involved and you want kind of your voice to be heard and their voice to be heard too. So I definitely agree.
So that's personalization from an emotional perspective, not just about come and buy stuff from us. But personalization is a really core strategy for lounge underwear. And it's not just about buying products in the different sizes, but you both quite rightly mentioned that you're personalizing for the type of individual, for the characteristics, what they really care about, what they're into, what the latest trends are, and also what their behavior is. So Arron, just coming back to you here on how does Lounge's female best friend philosophy translate into your personalization strategy, and how do you communicate that with your customers through emotional buying and behavioral attributes?
Yeah, totally. I think there's a couple of ways you can answer this question as a brand. So we have a number of experiences that we try to give our customers. So for example, let's just say a normal buying journey for a customer. They come on our website and they're looking for product or looking for something that, you know, suits them. We'll try and personalize their journey in terms of what we think is the best thing for them. So we have something called the fitting room, which is an online survey you can take, and it gives you a personalized lounge fit. So that is a product that is kind of in our sizing based on the questions they answer around fit and style that we recommend to them. That could be kind of one way that we go around a personalized ASIN journey for our customer. And another thing is the kind of, I guess, more the experience side. So we have what we call fit experts, or more, I guess, accurately, lounge experts. And our lounge experts essentially are our fit experts. You know, we want to be the biggest swimwear brand in the world, and we can't do that without being experts in fit and sizing. So when any customer comes onto our website, for example, they can go to any of our communication channels, so WhatsApp, live chat, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and they can get kind of instant sizing advice. And that's kind of another way that we try to really personalize that journey, ensure the customer has kind of everything they need there and then to make their purchase or make their whole journey with us kind of as good as it can be. And when we can't, we don't always get it right. We can't always give the customer what they want. There are things that are out of control. So as any e-com brand, any fast growing e-com brand I have out there, stock is always a massive one. It's always a pain point. How do we make sure that we've got the right stock for the right people? And when we don't have that, then we will kind of personalize our response to that. So we have opportunity for a customer to sign up to a back in stock notification. So as soon as it comes back in stock, they will get a notification straight away to say it's back and they can purchase. So I guess that's more kind of the on-site front end way that we personalize the journey, and kind of a bit around the emotional and buying behavioral attributes we kind of touched upon before, I guess a little bit about it, but just kind of having open conversations around what's going on, topics of conversation in the real world, connecting with our customers, connecting on all our social platforms. So we have like a social team that connects with our customers on DMs, comments, and they're constantly engaging, replying to them, and it's making them feel part of the brand. That's one key thing. It's one thing going to a brand and purchasing off them, and it's another thing being actively engaged with them, actively having conversations, and that's one thing that we do a massive thing on. Not just good conversations, but negative conversations as well. Whenever we get bad feedback, we'll reach out to that customer and understand what happened, why was their buying experience bad, and try and rectify that, because it's really important to us.
And Kiran, coming back to you with the same point, as personalization as a strategy is really core to you guys. From a marketing perspective, then how do you actually communicate that? How do you take that message to your customers?
I actually love this question, purely from the point of view, because my answer is always the same, but it changes as the digital world changes. So it's making sure that we're at the right place at the right time, talking to a customer that is right for where they are in their customer journey. And that's definitely the point of view that we come from a marketing perspective. There are so many social platforms out there at the moment. There's so many ways that you can reach your customer, but it's understanding how you talk to them at each point. But then it's the additional layer of what do you need to do on that platform where they are. So it's connecting those two things together. For example, if you take the generic customer journey, awareness, consideration, conversion, we all know in the marketing world that is the generic funnel that is kind of taught to us from the beginning. But when you actually put that into practice and you take it and put it into the digital world, where is the consideration? Where is the awareness? Where is the consideration? And where is the conversion? When you've got places like YouTube, social, you've got Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, and then you've got website, you've got the likes of email marketing, retargeting, and all these things. It's just making sure that what your objective is clear for the platform that you're putting it on. And that's something that we do a lot of work on. Our strategy is fine-tuned, very much so, to make sure that we are talking to the customer in the right way where they are. So whether that's they're seeing a YouTube ad for the first time and they're not really aware of who we are, okay, how do we then talk to them once they've been introduced to the brand? They may have been searched on socials organically, and kind of starting to engage with us. Okay, how do we then show them our product? Then how do we nurture them from the beginning to the end? And I guess that kind of steps into the community element of it. It is nurturing them so that they understand that we are more than just a brand that sells product. We are here to be your female best friend, and it's trying to have that element of brand and product from the beginning to the end, but it's kind of moving that needle as you get closer towards that conversion. So once you've introduced a customer, once they've kind of got to know your product, okay, what is it that you're now how are you going to get them to your website so that they make the conscious decision that, okay, I've learned about these guys subconsciously because they've been on YouTube, I've seen them on display, I've wanted to go and research them a little bit more. I've gone in, I've researched them. Okay, I'm going to go over to their website. Now that I'm at their website, it's all of that journey beforehand. So before the conversion element, that real nurturing, the time, the strategy goes into, so that you portray your brand in the correct light, that you show them what your values are, show them what your product offering is, so that by the time they get to your website, they've already bought into the brand and they've already loved what you do, what you stand for, and it's their conscious decision to then purchase with you. Then I guess once that happens, it goes over to kind of Arron in the sense of the customer side of things, and how do we make sure that once they have made that conscious decision to purchase from us because they've loved the brand and they want to find out what our products are like, it's then making sure that their post-purchase journey is as seamless as possible. So making sure that delivery times are right, that if they have any questions, like Arron said, we've got our lounge experts to speak to them. And there are all these elements of communication that whichever one they choose, we are there to listen to them. It's not just that it ends once we work so hard to get them over to this journey of buying into the brand and purchasing. And then it's kind of like, there you go, you've bought with us, that's it. It's not like that at all. It's just like, important starts all over again, but just on the post-purchase journey. As Arron mentioned, we're there, whether you want to speak to us on Instagram, on WhatsApp, wherever you are. It's just making sure that you're focusing on that element, where that customer is, what platform they're on, and just putting just as much importance on each one of those things, because they're just as important. I think a lot of e-com brands, especially now with the pandemic, kind of suddenly there's brands that are trying to put a huge focus on digital because they haven't up until this point, and until now they have had to and don't have a choice. Is focusing very much on the conversion side of things, whereas I think the understanding needs to be that there is so much work to be done and to do before you get there. So sorry, I rambled on a little bit, but I hope that answered your question.
It certainly did. And Arron, just coming back to you here for a second, both yourself and Kiran, and as a brand and even as a business, and even how you're organizationally set up, you've really set the foundation for customer centricity. And as you scale your entire business, as well as your marketing organization, how are you ensuring that your strategy and your execution is still laser focused on the customer?
I think one thing that we do well as a brand, and this is not so much an external thing but internal thing, is our communication. So we're all very aligned in what we have, very clear goals of what we want as a business. We know where we want to be, and we know what the important values are. Customer centricity is one of the massive things. And as Kiran kind of mentioned just before, how she described that whole journey from pre-purchase to post-purchase, that's an open conversation we have, and that's something that we're all aligned on. So we're all kind of geared towards the same thing. And every time we kind of make a decision internally to launch something new, do a new campaign, it could be anything. It could be like a post-purchase journey. It could be prior to the purchase. It could be anything you want, like a new distribution center. All these conversations are happening with the customer in our mind. So I guess for me, one of the really good things that we do and helps us keep that focus is just to be aligned as a brand. We know for us that the customer is the most important thing, and we are a customer-centric business. That is, everything is geared toward make that experience the best that it can be, from all areas of business, not just marketing, not just customer, operations, tech, brand, creative. We're all very aligned. So that's the big thing. And I think sometimes the biggest part of that is, and we talk about it quite a bit, but is the agility. We're a very agile brand. We're a young brand, but we're getting bigger. We're not so much a startup anymore. We are kind of, gaining a bit of, I guess, weight in the space now. But another thing that we try and keep very, very kind of core to what we do is agility in decisions, agility in kind of reacting to things and being proactive. If something's going on, we can very easily mobilize, even with COVID going on, even with everyone working from home, and get a decision that will take a lot of businesses, a week, 2 weeks, even 3 weeks of all the red tape in the space of a day. And that's another big thing that allows us to kind of react to situations, be proactive, and make sure things are still in place, make sure the customer ultimately has the best experience.
And Kiran, coming back to you here for a second, to be able to scale what you do in marketing and still stay focused on the customer, like what Arron was talking about, what kind of technology and capabilities are you looking to prioritize to be able to support that scale?
I think that this comes down to the balance between brand values and data-led decisions. From a marketing perspective and strategy, data is the holy grail, and it is definitely kind of the thing that helps steer you. But I think one of the fine lines, especially kind of moving into the role as CMO, is how do we balance those two things? How do you take all these kind of realms of data that you have and all the things that you can get your hands on, making decisions, but making sure that those decisions are in line with what your brand values are? And I think that is definitely the way that we are leaning towards and what's helping us grow, because we're able to make more educated decisions, more educated strategies. It's not so much oh, we think this would work, let's try it. It's, okay, let's test it, let's learn from it. Did it work? Okay, amazing, let's do it bigger and better and involve more people and kind of have more testing scenarios to make that even better. But then is also learning from the things that don't work. It's not that testing something and you didn't quite get the outcome that you wanted. Okay, that's fine. There could be elements that, for example, COVID. So there could be an element that, okay, somewhere's gone into lockdown, so that campaign didn't quite do so well. Let's try it again at a different point in time. It's not that, it's not kind of just writing off your failures. It's understanding why they happen and kind of trying them again and kind of molding things. And that goes back to what Arron said in regards to agility as a business. We are very much kind of focused on kind of breaking those boundaries, testing, learning things. Like, you don't get anywhere if you play it safe. And that's definitely one of the kind of things that I definitely instill in the team, is that, like, let's do something crazy. Let's, like, whatever your idea is, it's not like there's no silly idea. And from that, it then comes down to the element of communication that Arron mentioned, and how quickly and easily we're able to share that idea throughout the business. And if it kind of gets off the ground, it's like, okay, let's do it, and everyone starts working on it. And that element of being reactive and proactive is kind of the way that we need to be. But I don't think that's necessarily down to because of our growth, because that's something that we've instilled from the beginning, from when there was only 6 people in the office to now. The way that we work is exactly the same, and we are lucky enough to have been able to nurture and grow that whilst we have grown so rapidly. But I think it's making sure that you're staying relevant in an ever-growing digital world, whereas there were kind of the e-com only brands that have been doing this from the beginning and have really worked on their tech stack and all those kind of things that they need to be able to grow. But now you've got a sudden surge of other brands that now are kind of trying to get into this retail space. How do you stay dominant in your position? And I think it's taking all of those things into consideration.
And having the right technology in place from the start helps you to grow and scale as you do, without having to actually replace anything when you need something to be speedy and agile.
Definitely.
And Arron, from your perspective, what kind of technology and capabilities are you looking to prioritize alongside that?
So again, bit of a double-edged answer, I guess. I guess from the customer point of view, I see customer experience holistic across the business. I see it not just from a post-purchase journey. I see it from pre-purchase, and we all do. So I guess what one thing that we're currently working on at the moment is our kind of dev team are working on a new website build, and that is essentially, us as a business, something quite specific to us as a business is the number of products, SKUs we have as a business. Naturally, underwear, having one product, you got about over 100 SKUs based on the sizing that you can have, and it's quite a unique challenge because, as you know, we partner with a brand called Shopify, and with that brand, especially when it gets to peak periods, and as a lot of e-com businesses will have peak periods around Black Friday, peak periods, any sale period they have, you get a influx of customers coming in. And it's a big challenge for all our systems, our backend system, to cope with that. You know, we've had failures, we've had instances where we've oversold thousands of stock and stuff, and it was a big learning curve. So for us to kind of develop our technological platforms was one of the key things around that. So building a bespoke stock app that allows us to deduct stock kind of almost instantly, building a website that's a lot more responsive to the customer and allows people to purchase a lot quicker, a better user journey, a better customer journey. Working with yourselves and Imarsys around the data platform. You know, Kiran's mentioned, data is so important. A lot of brands talk about it, you know, and it seems like a bit of a buzzword, but in reality, you really need to understand your customer data. Who are your customers? Who are your VIPs? Who are your active spenders? Who are your low spenders? How do we engage them? How do we, as Kiran rightly said, approach them at the right space, the right time, with the right wording, the right language? These are things that are so important, and developing our tech stack is absolutely key for us to grow as a business. And then also, you know, just making sure that we don't, as a business, rest on our laurels. You know, we have some great technological platforms that we work with already that enabled us to get here, but at the same time, we're constantly looking for, you know, what's the next big thing, how, you know, what's the next big innovative thing that's going to give us that step ahead of the competition. How do we stay ahead of the competition? You know, it is a constant thing, and we are kind of constantly looking at that. So constantly analyzing, constantly learning from our mistakes, constantly being proactive and understanding what the next best technologies are, and kind of trying to onboard things is something that we put a lot of emphasis on.
And Kiran, coming back to you here for a second, where you guys have got to, it certainly comes with a lot of challenges. And Arron mentioned some of the challenges around the back end and the inventory and something that didn't quite work out in the past. And it's always about a test and learn approach, like you mentioned before. What are some of the challenges you faced when you're in the scale up phase? And from a UK only brand perspective to becoming a global player, how have you overcome some of these challenges?
Yeah, I think as Arron mentioned previously, stock is definitely one of them. When you forecast for a year that doesn't take into consideration, for example, a COVID scenario happening, being a comfy underwear brand that also does loungewear, you can very quickly kind of throw your forecast out the window because the whole environment has changed. That being also with stock. So that is definitely one of the big challenges that we faced in terms of making sure that we have enough product. But again, like you mentioned, incredibly quick growing brand that is becoming more and more global as the days go on. It's very difficult to forecast, but it's all kind of, like you said, testing and learning, understanding, okay, knowing what product to make sure that we never kind of go below X amount, and what are those core products, what are the ones that kind of fly out the door day in, day out, what are the more seasonal pieces, is it colors, is it sizes, and all of those things, and just taking what you've learned from data and kind of actually using it and making decisions off the back of it. But I think another huge thing off the back of that and growing so quickly is finding the right people. As Arron kind of touched on, our culture at Lounge is something like I've never seen before. And I say this quite a lot when we're going through the interview process, and a lot of people ask what our culture is like. And I always say that you always hear businesses talk that, oh, we're like a family, we have a really close-knit culture and everybody's so lovely to each other. But it's only ever once you kind of get into that environment, you either think that it's correct or it's not. And Lounge is the only place that I walked into and thought, oh my God, everything I've seen, everything that you've told me is actually what it is. And everyone has like such a fire in their belly to want to achieve this goal of becoming the biggest underwear brand in the world. And we all share this kind of excitement around the brand. Everyone's so invested in what they do, and finding people that kind of share that element and are willing to come in, work their socks off and reap the rewards of it is very difficult. So that's definitely another element of it, as along with becoming global, localized languages and stores. How do we talk to, we know how to talk to our customers, but we are a British born brand. We all of our kind of comms start off as English, but when we break out and we localize into the stores, so at the moment we have a French, German, Swedish and Dutch store, how is it that we can talk to those people in their localized language, in their localized tone of voice? What is it that they like? What kind of products are they wanting to purchase? Is a certain color, does that a certain color mean a certain thing in one market in comparison to another? They're all these things that you suddenly have to start thinking about very, very quickly. But it's just about making sure that you have the right people to help you do that.
Totally.
I was coming to you, Arron, with the same question. From your perspective, what kind of challenges have you faced and how are you looking to overcome some of these?
No, to be honest with you, Kieran's hit the nail on the head. Like those are the those are kind of, I guess, some of the key challenges. Culture's huge. Culture is massive. Like we will rather bring someone into the business that is a culturally right fit. Possibly may not have quite that level of experience that we may need, but their cultural fit and their attitude and how they fit into what our brand values are will help drive us forward, and it's helped us get us where we are today. So kind of say, we are a family inside. We will argue the amount of time me and Kieran kind of disagreed on stuff, but it's because we're so both geared toward, and as everyone at Lounge, geared towards that same goal. That is really key. Again, touching upon what Kiran said around language, language in terms of different countries, how we speak to the customer, being reactive to kind of what kind of style the customer wants to speak in. We've kind of scaled out, I guess, one example will be our customer experience team to start including native German and French speakers going forward now to enable us to have that kind of communication with them natively, and really kind of just expand out our ability to communicate to our customers. And also kind of, I guess, another big challenge is our competitors. We are kind of expanding globally now. We are kind of, hitting those new markets, and it's kind of looking at our competitors who have got kind of, I guess, native advantages over us in those territories, and kind of how do we compete to them? How do we kind of beat them? What are they doing well and what are they not doing well? And how can we kind of take those things together and really make something work there? So yeah, it's huge. Another thing, for example, is our distribution. So we're in the process of opening up a European distribution center right now. That's come off the back of our growth in Europe and the demand for customers to want product quickly. E-com now, and brands like Amazon, who've completely set the ceiling of what fast delivery, what great an e-com business does. That's what everyone expects now. So, even though we're a smaller brand, we have to kind of hit those levels. So we're making decisions to kind of expand out in Europe, make sure our delivery times are getting a lot shorter, a lot quicker to customers. And I guess a combination of these things are coming together to allow us to expand and grow.
And Kiran, coming back to you here for a second, you've got the marketing structure in place, the brand in place, the customer-centric foundation in place. And as a high-growth e-commerce brand looking to grow and scale now, what do the next 12 to 18 months look like for you in marketing?
Oh, well, if you had asked me 12 months ago what the next 12 months would look like, I would have been completely off the mark. So it's very difficult as a fast-growing e-com business to really forecast in the sense of what do the next 12 months look like in specifics. But I guess, like we said right at the beginning of this conversation, the end and ultimate goal is to become the biggest underwear brand in the world. And along with that, I think follow three kind of things. So growth and global market expansion, new customer acquisition, and customer retention. Those three things will always be core to the brand and kind of our objectives going into every financial or next forecasting year. So those are things that we really, really work on, and they're things that you can never stop working on. There's not going to be a point where you say, okay, I've got my new audience acquisition strategy down, and that's what we're going to use for the next 5 years. It's kind of having those foundation objectives and making sure that throughout those next 12, 18 months that you're able and agile enough to mold them to the environment that you're in. And that comes back to, again, not wanting to sound like a broken record, but being reactive, having great communication within the business, being able to share ideas quickly, because it is a very fast growing digital world. And in the space of e-com, like we mentioned before, there are brands and competitors popping up left, right and center. It's making sure that the decisions that you're making, and you just have a clear objective, and whether it hits either one of those three or something else that we're trying to hit, I think that's definitely the way forward to stay focused on that.
And Arron, with Black Friday lasting nearly a month last year, many brands started prepping for 2021, not long after the new year. What did you learn from last year, and what will you be taking into consideration for this year?
Yeah, totally. As well, as you know, and a lot of ecom brands know, you kind of Black Friday period and those sale periods is the time where you get a huge influx of new customers and your repeat customers. So it's so important to kind of make sure that the experience side is there. So it's kind of the learnings really are from, I guess, from understanding the shipping timeframes to delivering the right information at the right time, to being reactive and proactive during the Black Friday week, kind of coming over the challenges we have around stock and making sure our marketing comms are adapting to that, having transparency with our customers. Some customers, it's very hard to get your orders out at the same time. So how do we make sure that we are constantly communicating to our customers, letting them know what's going on during their post journey, and how we get that across to them is really important. So it's not rocket science. Like, it's not kind of, we're not doing anything that's in terms of, it's not kind of groundbreaking how you approach these things. These challenges are there for every business kind of across the world. What is the challenge is how we adapt and apply kind of the solutions. And that's what we kind of really take pride in ourselves on. So we've reacted, we're opening a new DC, we're expanding our customer experience team, we're making sure we're putting things in place that make sure the customer has that communication there throughout the whole journey. We're putting in place to make sure the website's better. We're making sure that the stock's not overselling there. We're putting all these things in place. The marketing team are getting everything in place to ensure that the right customers and the right territories are getting the right comms and the right language. It's all kind of things that we're doing, but fine tuning, making better, scaling it, making it bigger, and really just kind of carrying that on.
And you both have such an influential and leadership role at Lounge Underwear. And Kiran, are there any tips or advice you can give to others in the industry?
From a leadership perspective, one of the things, and I mentioned really briefly earlier, is kind of making sure that the team have no fear. And I mean that in the sense of ideas that they churn out, tests that they want to do. If something doesn't go too well, it is not the end of the world. We test and we learn for a reason. The only way we're going to grow and we learn is from these kind of situations. So everyone kind of having that no fear in what they do, gaining that confidence in what they are doing, is going to actually have an outcome. And I think that's one of the things, again, that really come down to our culture, in the sense of everybody's idea is just as good as the next person, whether you're a junior, whether you're a head of, you're a manager, an exec, everyone gets listened to. And that's definitely kind of one of the key things that help in that lack of fear and pushing ideas to the limit. And I think from more of a e-com and digital point of view, is making sure that you're on the ball and trying to get ahead of it as much as you can, because new technologies, new trends come about with a blink of an eye, but they also go just as quickly. So it's making sure that you have a balance of kind of scheduled marketing activity or scheduled activity and campaigns, but also having room to be reactive and kind of make sure that you're relevant. Again, because the digital marketing world, you can very quickly become irrelevant. As soon as your voice starts to die down, it's very hard to then try and break through all those people that have come into that space while you've been in that decline. So it's making sure that you're heard, that you're always on the latest thing, that you're kind of bringing out new technologies, and that you're kind of just staying ahead and being on top of kind of what's happening in the e-com industry.
That's really great advice. And Arron, in your opinion, is there any tips or advice you'd like to give to others in the industry?
Again, I think Kiran makes a really good point. I think ultimately, when you're trying to drive fast-growing e-com business or any business, you can't do it without. There's no I in team. You can't do it around the people around you. And one thing that we do here is empower everyone. Empower your teams to make mistakes, empower your teams to be able to come up with the crazy ideas, as Kiran said. Don't be afraid to fail. In fact, fail, because that's how you learn, and then come back stronger. It's so important when you have that kind of, I guess, fire in your belly, and you have that kind of confidence to do these things, then you are going to get a bunch of individuals, not just in leadership, but throughout the whole business, who are burning to push and grow, and that's really, really key. Otherwise, having a handful of people who are your leadership isn't what leadership is. Leadership is empowering your whole business to push and drive it, and that's what's going to kind of make us reach our goals and be the biggest brand in the world. And I think any brand out there who is looking for kind of tips, I guess, as you said, is to do those things. Empower all your employees to be the best they can be. Don't restrict them. I guess let them loose, and the results will come.
Arron and Kiran, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to taking our partnership further to continue helping you accelerate your growth. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks, Pal. Cheers.
At Retail Revival this year, we have many other leading brands who are sharing their insights and best practices on their success. Please be sure to catch the other sessions, but they're also made available on demand to watch them at your convenience. On behalf of everyone at eMasters and SAP, thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us today.